Welcome back once again to Kevin Pollak's Chat Show. I am, as always, Chat Show. How the hell are you? Seriously. Answer the fucking question. Thank you. We have a great show for you today. We have a return guest who I'm unbelievably excited about. But first, let's talk about this past week. So much has happened.
So much. Busy week.
Yeah. Thanking the folks here at the West Side Comedy Theater, of course, for allowing us a home on a allegedly rainy Sunday. You know, it just had to piss one last time.
Yeah.
Jason, because he knows these things, claims this is it. We're going to have sunny skies from here on out.
Claims this is it. Did you speak to Al Gore? How exactly do you know?
Yeah, Al called me, got to stop it.
Sweet.
I spoke to Al Roker.
Yeah. Al Roker. Yeah, it's just people in Los Angeles still cannot handle driving in the rain, and it's a joke. Truly a joke.
Yeah.
Like, why don't you go where there's real weather before you start bitching and moaning? Write to us at kpcsfanmail@gmail.com. I'm going to read one of your damn letters in just a moment. But first, Sammy, how was your week?
Oh, divine.
And by that you mean the character from the John Waters movie?
I spent some time with the clergy.
Oh.
That was a better joke.
Uh-huh.
Sam's joke is, yeah, I like where his way.
No.
All right.
Not at all.
And what else?
It was a very boring week for me. Actually, I worked. I worked on another period this week.
Nice.
Did you have to go all the way to the Rhode Island?
No. They shoot it here for Rhode Island.
Aha.
But it was a tremendous treat to be there with past guests of the show, Ricky Lindholm and Natasha Leggero and Thomas Lennon.
Our dear friend Beth Dover.
Yep. So good times, and that'll air sometime this year.
Yeah. It's a damn fine show.
Yeah.
The title, Another Period, is referring, of course, to another time in history.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
and, maybe the other thing. I don't know.
I think it's a play on words.
I always think of Slayton's joke.
Which would be?
I don't trust women. Any animal that bleeds for 3 days and doesn't die.
I hate that joke. I've heard so many people say use that before, and I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking about.
Our guest today worked with Bobby Slayton. I just realized at a Barry Levinson joint.
Oh.
There we go.
Yeah, bandits.
That's right.
Jamie, your week?
I
stole the sweater from a younger gal.
This sweater?
Live with that.
It was on my niece Jaden's floor, and I was like, oh, what's this sweater? And she said, oh, my friend Hannah didn't want it anymore, so she left it there. And I said, yoink. And I took it, and I like it, because I feel like I'm a mom from 1988.
Yeah.
So and it's very soft. I like the scalloped collar.
Scalloped collar. There's something every man needs to learn. That term.
This is called a scallop.
Sure it is.
Yeah.
I like that. I like everything about it. Upcoming guest, you ask? All right, settle down. J.K. Simmons, Stephen Root, Dave Keckner, Jason Alexander, Dave Coulier, Kevin Nealon, Rob Corddry. Oh, I love me some Rob Corddry. Ricky Gervais in October. Set your calendars. Set your alarm clocks to wake up in October and say, fuck off. Coming to you live on the YouTube. Are you watching? Write to us again, KPCS fanmail@gmail.com. Here's a letter now from Josh Brown. Sent some photos of his basement that he's turned into the Haunted Mansion from the Disneyland. Knowing that Jamie's a fan, he writes to us something. What did he write?
I
Nothing.
pull it up faster than you.
You got to number these pages, man.
He wrote about...
I have it right here. Would you like me to read it?
Yeah, please. Perfect.
Dear Char Show. I watch the show on YouTube when I can, but I always listen to the podcast version on iTunes during my commute. Having listened to the show, I know that Jamie is a big Disney Parks fan, so I've attached some photos of my basement, which I have been turning into the Haunted Mansion over the past 2 years. I won't compliment you, Kevin, but I will say I enjoy the show very much.
That was my favorite part.
And then he sent some photos of his and it's what I'm most impressed by is that he has replicated the wallpaper that's in the attraction.
Yeah, that was impressive, right?
Yeah, all 3 different patterns of wallpaper.
And J-Mac, you're going to drop the photo into the...
He also included a Larry King game.
Wait for it.
Yes,
Yes, he did, which I'm going to read now.
Oh, good.
That's my name.
Write yourself a Larry King game and win yourself a Kevin Pollak's Chat Show t-shirt. This one's going out to Josh Brown. I don't eat Honey Nut Cheerios because in 1977, that bee and I had an awkward sexual encounter. It was not heart healthy. Alaska, Michigan, you're on the air. Alaska, Michigan. Who knew there was a... I read it also because I sat in for Larry King on his show and interviewed a couple of the gals from that show, Teachers. Yeah, which I enjoyed very much. That is it. I'm going to not torture our guest any further, sitting here patiently as I attempt to go through my papers like a 90-year-old. All right. Please welcome Billy Bob Thornton. Billy.
Hey. How's everyone?
I'm going to hold up this recent CD of the latest work. I want to take us back to 1978-79, the Ardent Studios in Memphis. What the hell were the Cramps and the Bar Keys? The Bar Ks.
Yeah.
Tell me.
Well, I was in a band at that time called Nothing Doing.
Nothing Doing. Like it already?
With a couple of pals from back home. And Ardent was like the place for us. I mean, the first recording I ever made was in Muscle Shoals in '74, which was also a mecca, you know.
Alabama?
Muscle Shoals, Alabama. And which we're playing on this tour. We play there occasionally. And Muscle Shoals is where, you know, like Aretha and Otis Redding, a lot of people, Dwayne Allman did a lot of stuff there, and you know, the Muscle Shoals rhythm section, famous studio guys. And then next to that, Ardent was kind of the place in Memphis. ZZ Top made several of their records there, and you know, Al Green, everybody. But we went to make an LP, and we did it in 2 days.
Not recommended.
We didn't have much money,
Sure.
you know, and it was in the meantime, after we'd scheduled this up, we were playing in a place called Cardi's in Houston, and a guy came backstage and said, "You know, you guys sound like ZZ Top. How'd you like to be a ZZ Top tribute band?" And back then there weren't tribute bands really. I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
And the guy used to work in ZZ Top's organization, and I had his own agency, and. He said, because there were 3 of us, I was the drummer at that time, and with a guitar player and bass player, and we did sound a lot like ZZ Top. We liked them a lot, and so we said, well, what does that mean, and what do we get out of it? He said, well, how much are you making a night? And we said, well, I don't know, $300, whatever. He said, how'd you like to make $1,500 a night? And we said, we'd like that very much.
When do we start?
Yes, and so for a couple of years we were a ZZ Top tribute act. We played all their songs and kind of made a stage set that looked like theirs, and the guys grew their beards a little longer.
I'm glad they grew them instead of renting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that would have not been good. And we did that for a couple of years, and we had the opportunity to open for a lot of people when we did that, and you know, bigger names and stuff. And back then, that's when I first met Gibbons, and you know. I became friends with all those guys probably late 80s, early 90s, something like that. So I've known them a long time, but Gibbons saw us way back then.
He saw that, your tribute.
Yeah, he came and saw us, you know. And,
what was that like after that show?
Well, we didn't even know it.
Right.
He told me later that he'd seen us.
So he didn't even stop in to say hello.
And it was kind of like, you know, back in the shadows, like, let's see what these creeps are up to.
Yeah, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, and so, but we recorded there at Ardent, and, you know, famous studio, and when we were recording there, we were in one studio, and the Cramps, who were fairly new at the time, you know, Lux Interior and the whole gang, they were recording, and the Bar Ks, and Bar Ks were the backup band for Otis Redding, you know, and other than, I think only one guy survived in that plane crash that Otis was in, and so it was kind of the new Bar Ks, but, you know, they had the song Soul Finger, instrumental and all this stuff, and so it was, you know, it was very cool to us at that time, and
it's a big damn deal. Is what
it was a huge deal, and since then we recorded Ardent as, you know, a national touring act, and so now we come in there and we're, you know, matter of fact, Jody Stevens, who was the drummer with Big Star, big influence on us. Alex Chilton's band. Alex Chilton was the singer of the Box Tops.
Holy shit!
And kind of played into why we call ourselves the Boxmasters, because we were looking for a '60s sounding name.
Right.
And Boxmasters has its own meaning, but it sounded 60s like, and it's real hard to describe when you're on like the Tonight Show or something, you know.
Yes.
So what does Boxmasters mean?
But Sam, you seem to do the math pretty quick with your chuckle.
Well,
yeah. I always tell people it's just, guys who are good at packing things. But it's...
or ladies, if I may.
Yeah, absolutely. UPS guys,
Yeah. What has Brown done for you?
Yes, that's
lately?
right. Yes.
Let me get my phone the fuck off the desk. Curious, because I hadn't seen in the research. I know there was plans on being a ball player early on, and the transition, decision-wise, or thoughts of a youngster from ball player to singer-songwriter, did they coincide for a while before the singer-songwriter took over?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'd played ball since the minor leagues, which was before Little League, when you're like 8.
Sure.
And I played all through high school and everything. And then they used to have these traveling camps, to look at local talent. And I had a tryout with the Kansas City Royals when I was about 18, 19. And I got my collarbone broken in their camp. And I hadn't even thrown. I was a pitcher. I was a junk pitcher and pretty good. I was in the state all-star tournament and stuff like that. And my last season in high school my record was 8-1. I led the league in strikeouts, so I was pretty good.
Yeah, you were.
And I was standing there talking to a guy behind the first base coach's box. Just some cat that I met from somewhere else. And hey, how you doing? Where you from? That kind of thing. And they were taking infield practice. The third baseman threw over to first base. The guy wasn't looking, and right in the collarbone. And then next thing, I'm on the ground, and that was it. I'd been there maybe 30 minutes.
Jesus.
Yeah. And when I recuperated, I worked for a sound company that, pretty big sound company in the South. I mean, Showco was the big one out of Dallas, but then this was a sort of the junior version of that. So whereas Showco would get the Led Zeppelin or the Rolling Stones tour, this company got like the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band or Pure Prairie League, Ozark Mountain Daredevils, people like that. And so I worked for that sound company as a roadie for a couple of years, and while still playing in the band. And
right.
I was in several bands, from the time I was 10 till in my 20s, and then worked as a roadie for a while. And it was, a great experience. And you really learn to not treat your roadies like shit by doing that. It's like anybody. It's like you coming up or me, anybody. When you've done the other stuff before you do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed the crew on any movie set is not only working harder and more constantly, but because of that, their day goes by a lot faster.
Oh yeah.
While we're just sitting on our ass waiting to go to work.
Oh, I know.
They're constantly in motion.
Yeah, we're mad because the cappuccino's not there yet. And I don't
Last movie I worked on budget was so tiny, I went ahead and bought the coffee machine.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, and the crew was just so thankful, and I thought, really? It's just a Keurig. Everybody's settled down.
Exactly.
Oh, man. So the transition from being a roadie and watching, and by then I imagine, had your own fellows and friends that you were working out with as a band.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and that's when we like I said, we went down to Muscle Shoals and recorded at Ardent, did all those things, and I really came to L.A. just because for
music.
I thought I'd get in a band out here. I didn't realize it was hard as it was, and came out here with a buddy of mine, Tom Epperson, who wanted to be a screenwriter, and we'd gone to New York first. We stayed 10 hours. Yeah, 10 hours. I swear to God.
Did you get out of the airport?
Well, airport? Are you kidding me?
Sorry.
Hey,
came in on the rails, did you?
What are those big silver birds flying? No, we drove. He had like a Buick Century or something like that, and he took his television set and some money. I don't remember how much money. I didn't have hardly any. I maybe had $100, and he had maybe 1,000.
You came from
Arkansas. And drove to New York. Staying in creepy little motels along the way, and got to New York at noon, and we parked on 6th Avenue, and right outside of, just out, come through the tunnel, and it's like, oh, hurry, park, And we parked in this place, and we just wanted to see the things you'd heard of.
Sure.
Because we'd left to seek our fame and fortune. I had a tearful goodbye with the girl I was seeing. You know, like we're both bawling.
This was it, honey.
I'll probably never see you again.
Going off to war.
Going off to war. And we walked from 6th Avenue up to Times Square, and it started pissing rain.
Oh.
And I had at that time I had long hair still from the band times, you know. So I'm this skinny little long-haired creep, you know, and and we're just walking along in New York in the rain, driving rain straight. And it never let up all day. It rained the whole day, and I had my first shrimp that wasn't from a frozen box in a little Japanese place we ducked off in, and it was just a kind of a nightmare. We saw the Empire State Building. We just hyperventilated the whole time. It was overwhelming.
Yeah.
It was the year that Son of Sam was doing his thing. It was 77, the summer of 77.
Dear Lord.
Yeah, and so we got lost and couldn't remember. We didn't even look where we'd parked. I mean, now I'm telling you, we parked on 6th Avenue. I didn't know that then. We just parked and started walking like we were in like Boise.
Oh my
you know what
God!
I mean? And we'll find
it was by that place.
By that place. Yeah.
Oh shit!
We ended up in Harlem at night.
Mm-hmm.
And
as you do.
As you do, and still just pissing rain, and you know, water that deep in the gutters, and we tried to flag down a cab, and we got a guy who didn't speak much English, and which we also didn't know anything about, and he drove us around until it got to be like 30 or 40 bucks, and we said, you know what, just let us out. That's how we got in Harlem, actually. And because we were trying to describe to him the place we were.
Right.
We finally got a cab to stop, who was like this old Irishman, you know, and you don't see many of those anymore.
Nope.
I mean, seriously, like something out of a movie in the 40s, this
Right.
guy.
Where are you going to, fellas?
That kind of thing, yeah. And we described it, well, there was this Italian restaurant, and there was this woman who was really tall, like a man, you know,
so
wearing a red dress, you know, and, oh, yeah, I know the place.
What?
Yeah, swear to God, took us right there.
That's the best.
I mean, we had more descriptions
Sure.
of those two, but there was obviously a transvestite. This is a really big dude in a red dress is what it was. And
Larry.
Yeah, Larry. Yeah, Larry, the guy in the red dress. And but we described the Italian restaurant was really long and sort of flat and low with this big green sign. It wasn't like a fancy place. It
Sure.
was, you know, a sort of joint. And but we described some stuff around there, and then told him about the tunnel. He goes, oh yeah. And he took us down there.
That's crazy.
So we got in the car, and we were so, I mean, I'm not filling in the details here. It was just like a nightmarish day of being lost and being afraid of everything, and
Yeah.
you know, women coming out of alleys saying, do you want a date? And it's like, wow, they're friendly. We didn't know date meant that. You know, it's like, you know. And yeah, I do, but not with you. You know.
Do you have any friends who aren't like you?
Yeah, exactly. And so.
It's the most intimidating,
Oh, it was really
bizarro world.
I mean, I'd been to Dallas, and I'd been
Sure.
to Memphis.
Huge cities.
You know, but nothing like this. And so we got in the car, and we got on the turnpike there, and we went to New Brunswick, New Jersey, and stayed at the Howard Johnson's overnight, and had the television on, and everything on the news was Son of Sam and person crushed by a falling building, and you know, everything. It was like, oh wow,
We don't need this.
We don't need this. Went back home. Like 2 weeks later, we're back home. I see the girl who I'd had the tearful goodbye with, thinking that she should be so happy.
Oh, no.
Already seeing another guy.
No.
And not only that,
No.
she said to me, I thought you were going someplace. Yeah, I was. But I'd told her, like, you know, at the end of a movie, I was like, I'll probably never see you again, you know. Anyway, that's how that went. Stayed home a few more months, and eventually came to California, and I got in an acting class because we knew we had one contact out here, and the guy was in an acting class. He said, you should come to it.
Yeah.
And I did, and stuck with it, and then started to get little bits and pieces, and I had to go with what I was making money at.
Was the acting class the one where they wanted to do monologues, so you rewrote Othello?
That's the one. My teacher was a guy named John Whitlock, and he taught in San Francisco and LA. I had his class on Wednesday nights for like 4 hours, and it was at the Crossroads of the World over on Cherokee and Sunset, you know.
Sure.
Little theater in there. And he said, I came there and met the guy, and with this contact guy that we knew, Jeff Lester, who's still one of my great friends. And he said, this is in 1981. And he said, well, get a scene partner and come in and do a scene or do a monologue, and you know, I'll assess you and all this kind of stuff, you know. And we were staying with my cousins because Tom and I'd run out of money. We're sitting on the Santa Monica Pier, just feet from here.
Yep.
And we had $20 left, and I remembered these cousins that I hadn't seen in ages.
It's time to look them up.
Right? And they were living out in Rialto by San Bernardino there. And I called them. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? You know,
What are you eating for dinner?
Yeah, the friend who only calls when they need something. Hey, just call and see how you are. Hey, listen, I got this script. You know? Anyway.
Oh my God.
But you know, and they were like my second cousins or whatever, and they were great folks, you know. And they said, "Oh, it'd be great to see you." We go out there. So for a couple of months, we stayed there. I was waiting for a $500 check from the highway department, where I shoveled asphalt back for the highway department there. And when you quit, you get whatever you paid in for retirement. They'll be $500. And we lived out there in their garage, and we slept. One of us would sleep on the pool table in the garage, and the other one would sleep in a sleeping bag kind of beside the pool table there in the garage. And a couple of months, and every Wednesday I would take Tom's car. I didn't have a car. Drive up into LA, go to Crossroads of the World, go to the acting class. Anyways, he says, do a scene. Well, I don't know anybody to do a scene with. And the whole thing was intimidating, so I was going to do a monologue, and I looked through Tom's stuff, and I'd been in drama in high school, but just because there were chicks in there, and
Sure.
maybe I thought I'd get better than a C in something, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm looking through Tom's Shakespeare books, and I remembered how Andy Griffith used to have these comedy records. And he would do like Cinderella, or you know, he did one called What It Was Football, but he did it as this hillbilly, you know, telling these tales over again in
Sure.
his style.
Sure.
And
That
I
makes
thought,
sense.
I'll do something like that. And so I took Othello, and I decided, well, I'll play all the characters, and I'll do it from Iago's point of view in jail.
Why wouldn't you?
Right? And I'll just say, look, here's how it starts. So I played Iago as a redneck. And he tells the story, you know. I met this guy, and here's what happened, you know. And then I played Othello as like a modern day sort of, you know, black dude, you know. This is just modern language, you
Sure.
know. And
What else you can do with Shakespeare?
yeah, right. And then, you know, Cassio was sort of a, you know, fop or whatever they used to say, you know, and sort of a dandy or whatever, you know, the guys.
I'm gonna go with dandy.
Yeah, the handkerchief
Uh-huh.
deal or whatever. And
We know a few.
yeah, and he was real dressed up, you know, and then Desdemona was like a valley girl.
Great.
So and when I would get to that part, I would just do that voice, you know. And after about 45 minutes, John, the teacher.
You were supposed to do a monologue.
Right.
And after 45 minutes.
Exactly.
He said,
45 minutes, he stopped me.
Yeah.
And people were laughing, and they were receiving it well, but he stopped me and he goes, how much more of this is there? And I said, well, I don't know, because I didn't really write it. You know, I'm just sort of doing it. And I said, maybe half an hour, I don't know. and he said, well, listen, I'm going to have to stop you now because we have other people that need to do stuff. But I'm going to let you finish this next week, okay? And so I went and sat down, and then other people did things. And
At what point was it pointed out that monologues are usually 3 or 4 minutes?
after class, he wanted to see me. And I thought, oh, I screwed this up, and you know, I didn't make the cut or whatever. And he says to me, and I was aware that these other people weren't doing stuff that lasted very long. and so he said, listen, what are you? Where did you come from? What is this?
What is your deal?
Yeah, and I kind of told him a little bit, and then he said, okay. He goes, well, I've never seen anything like this. He goes, You're in the class. He said, but he said, just so you know, from now on, monologues are supposed to be from like 3 to 5 minutes, okay? He said, next week you can come in and do the other half hour or whatever, but after that, don't ever do this again. And that's how it started, yeah.
That's pretty great. And also, by making it your own, you're going to be more comfortable doing it.
Right.
You know? Yeah. And to be encouraged by that is also pretty extraordinary.
Encouragement is a good thing for you.
I want to go back 1 second, if I can, to the bandmates, because I read this and I need to know that your drummer Eric Rhodes got the nickname Meat Sweats because one night in Amarillo, you bet him he couldn't finish the 72-ouncer.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
I didn't even have water in my mouth.
Please share more.
Well, he's a great kid, Eric. He lives down in East Texas, and our old guitar player, Brad Davis, our drummer had a serious motorcycle accident. You know, I play drums on the records, but live I got to be out front. So we had a guy, Mike Bruce from Atlanta, and he'd had a serious motorcycle accident. We're looking for a new drummer. So Eric has been with us for 3 or 4 tours now. And he's terrific and a nice kid. And so I guess he's probably 36, 37, something like that. So he's a kid to the rest of us.
Sure, sure.
And he's a large boy, you know.
Got some meat on him.
It does. And so we told him, because, you know, the new guy always gets some, it's like joining a fraternity.
A little hazing.
And so when we passed through Amarillo, we'd all been to the Big Texan many times, and I'd even shot a couple of scenes there in a movie once.
The name of the restaurant is the Big Texan?
The Big Texan. It's right off the freeway. You can't miss it. Signs all over the place.
Yeah, what is the sign?
Eat the whole 72-ounce steak and you get it free. And and you're thinking, you know, if you eat the whole 72-ounce steak and you get a Buick, great. You know, but you eat it all and it's free. I mean, yeah. So anyway. And it's not only the 72-ounce steak, which is gigantic. I mean, like when you go in most steak places and they go, well, do you want the 4-ounce, the 6-ounce fillet, or the 12-ounce, or 16-ounce ribeye or whatever?
Knucklehead is 22-ounce.
Yeah.
Knucklehead.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we're sharing a 22-ounce.
Exactly.
For sure.
This is 72 ounces. It's like a, you know, it's like a torso. You know, and so not only do you have to eat that, you have to eat that along with a shrimp cocktail, and I think it's a salad. And
you have to finish that salad.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's like a salad, a roll or something, and a baked potato and a shrimp cocktail.
All got to go.
And so we told Eric, every new guy in the band has to finish the 72-ounce steak. And he's like, well, okay, I'll try, you know. He's trying to please us, you know. And so you not only do you have to finish it, but it's not at your own table. It's like this. It's like you guys are the audience, and everybody else is sitting up there. They put you up on this stage.
Oh my God.
At a table, and then they start the timer, and you go for it.
Oh, and there's a timer? I mean, you don't get a couple days.
No, it's an hour. You have to finish it in an hour.
Well, you should be able to finish in an hour, if I may.
That's more than an ounce a minute.
Yeah. I mean, you should. A normal person should be able to finish a normal meal in an hour, but not a torso.
Not the middle section from the Black Dahlia.
Right. Exactly. And so he, to his credit, I think he finished 52 ounces.
Oh my!
Before he started turning green and just saying, you know, you're going to have to kick me out of the band because I can't do this.
Sorry to let you down, fellas.
Right. And so JD wasn't with us. JD, for those who don't know, is our rhythm guitar player and my co-founder of the Boxmasters. And JD wasn't with us. He'd gone to play golf, and he called me on the cell and he said, "What are you guys up to?" And I said, "We're still at the Big Texan." And he goes, "What's going on?" I said, "Eric's trying to eat the 72-ounce steak." He goes, "Tomorrow's the first show." He goes, "Don't let him do that. He'll get the meat sweats." And so from then on, Eric was known as Meat Sweats. And I introduced him on stage as Meat Sweats. I mean, sometimes I don't even remember his name anymore.
It's a good thing.
You reminded me.
It's a good thing I mentioned it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Are there other band nicknames that come from specific moments in time?
Well, Teddy, but Teddy's had a nickname. They call him Teddy Zigzag. I mean, everybody in LA knows Teddy, as Zigzag. But he's had that name.
Zigzag to me just means rolling paper.
Well, exactly. But he's been around, for a long time. He played with me before the Box Masters. We've been together like 11 years, and I've been playing with him like 16, 17 years. And he played with Alice Cooper before me, and he's been around. I think the other guys are just Dave and Kirk.
And great nickname. How many cities will you and the fellas hit when you go out in April, do you figure?
About 30.
Holy crap.
Yeah. And we don't have many days off.
Not many breaks in 30 cities.
No.
Dear Lord.
Yeah.
Jerry Lewis came out of retirement a couple of years ago, and we did this movie together called Max Rose. Painfully sentimental film. But he told me that at the height of Martin and Lewis, they got a 3-car train that they rented. It said the orchestra was in one car, the accountants and agents and everybody, marketing, PR was in another car, and Dean and I were in a third car. And we did, I think it was something like 59 cities in 62 days. Wow. Yeah. And it was like a whistle stop, like you'd see a politician pull in and it would just be 10,000 people waiting. The road has always seemed, as a stand-up comedian, I could never go out for more than a couple of weekends at a time. I was never a tour guy. I never wanted it to feel like a job, I think was what I was thinking. Also, I wanted to miss it a little in between, so consequently, I've been fascinated by those who go on tour, as I romanticize it.
Yeah.
Because you're in your own world, and 30 cities must take you at least 6 weeks, 7 weeks.
Yeah, it's like the 1st of April through the middle of May. I mean, yeah.
And you're in a little bit of a vacuum going from town to town.
Yeah, it can get that way.
You're on a
bus.
A big personalized bus, I assume.
Yeah, it's nice enough,
Yeah. I have to also assume you're doing a lot of writing on the bus, songs or otherwise, or no?
Well, it depends. I mean, we just finished a record and we're working on a new one, and we've written songs for that one. Generally on the road, we'll write 1 or 2 while we're out there, but we just spend a lot of time watching satellite TV, which we have on the bus. You watch a lot of sports, and and you finish a show at 10:30 or 11. The driver is still asleep. He comes down around 1. He cranks the bus up, and you drive overnight. You sleep on the bus, get to the next place. You go into a hotel and take a shower, and you play and you go. And it's usually, when you're in the big cities, you always know where you are.
Right.
But then once you get, say, in the Midwest sometimes, and you're playing, Wichita and then Topeka and then another place, it's kind of like, last night was Wichita, right? No. Tonight's Wichita. Last night was Topeka. Right. You start to forget because, they're smaller towns, and they start to run together a little bit, and you never know. Like you can dread a show because you think this is not going to be good, and it may be the best one on the tour.
Right.
And then you pull into Philly or wherever it is, and you're playing the big place, and it's an amazing theater, and you think this is going to be great.
And the crowd's just horrible.
And they're either horrible or there are only like 14 of them there, And
Philly.
Yeah, promoters mad, like it's your fault. Well, look, you booked us. We can't help it, And, But we've built a really good cult following.
Sure.
So most places we play, we do very well, and
there were times where you're opening up for
a lot of people.
Yeah.
ZZ Top in particular. I mean, we've opened for them, Steve Miller. Over the years, Elvis Costello. A lot of people. Heart. Yeah.
And I imagine the joy of that is you get to play in front of a larger audience that's coming to see them, so there's no pressure necessarily.
Yeah.
And it feels like it's a lot more fun in terms of not having any responsibilities, quite frankly.
Oh yeah.
Right.
When you're the headliner and you've got like the local opening act or whatever.
Yeah.
And you know, people would think it's like, well, you know, you got the, let's say the doorknobs or whatever from wherever they're from.
Love the doorknobs.
Yeah, they're great. And sometimes they have such a local following that half the audience is there to see them because they're the local hot band.
Yeah, and that following's thrilled for them that they're opening up for you.
Right. But then you get there and you realize, wow, there are a lot of people who love these guys. So it's not like this opening band comes on and everybody's like yawning and stuff. They're into it.
Right.
That can be good and bad. You know, I mean, like some nights the audience is so on your side and they're amped up from this opening band. And then other times, if they're real hardcore fans of that band, they're like, oh, okay, now the big guys are here. You know, we're gonna like, you know.
Sure.
I mean, they don't, you know, chase you off stage, but it can be a little challenging, but you know, you win them over because, you know, if you get up there and don't act like an asshole, people are nice to you, you know, and I find that crowds are good, you know.
Your guys' sound is fun too. I mean, it's just fun.
Yeah, it's a good live sound, so usually we win people over. And then we have all these places where we're like the Beatles some places. I mean, in you know, Alabama, Georgia, down that way, Texas and certain places, we're pretty big, you know, and so those you always look forward to. But opening for people is always, I mean, as opposed to playing the 2,000 seat theater or the big rock and roll club, all of a sudden you're playing in a stadium or an outdoor festival opening for, you know, like Steve Miller or something like that, and there's thousands and thousands of people there, and you're, like you said, there's no pressure. They're there to see Steve Miller, so if you go out and do a good job, people are pleasantly surprised and you come off feeling like a rock star.
No expectations.
Exactly.
Yeah, when I was coming up as a stand-up, we got to do a lot of opening work. Local comedians, Bill Graham, the great concert promoter, had a bunch of venues in San Francisco. So I would open up for Bette Midler in front of 7,000 people, and it's just a world that a stand-up comedian is otherwise not going to have. Right. And it was always a great thrill. Rick Danko, I remember from the band.
Oh wow, yeah, that's great.
Pat Benatar on her first tour, Manhattan Transfer, just eclectic as hell.
Yeah.
There's another tradition on tour I read about. Can you shed some light on something called the nightly ass chewing?
Oh yeah.
That was something I'd never heard of before.
Yeah. It's the NAC, the nightly ass chewing. Yeah. Well, most of the guys in the band are married or in a relationship, you know, and a lot of us have kids, you know.
Sure.
Several of us have kids. There's 6 of us, and everybody but Meat Sweats actually has a child, but he's not married.
Meat Sweats Jr.?
Yeah, Meat Sweats Jr. Yeah, exactly. And Pork Loin is actually his kid. Yeah, but he does have a child. But so at the end of the night, after the show, because in your wife's eyes, you're just out there with your buddies that you hang out with here anyway, and we all know each other well enough, and our wives know each other well enough, where we're not like to Teddy's wife or JD's wife. I'm not like their cool friend. I'm like the pain in the ass who calls him at 11:30 at night when he's supposed to be doing something else and get the kids to go back to bed or whatever. And so all our better halves look at all the other guys as the guy who takes them away and leaves them with everything to do for a month and a half, 2 months.
Yep.
And so it's supposedly all fun and games. We're having fun while they're back here doing this thing.
You get to skip out on reality for 6 weeks.
Exactly. And so at the end of the night, you see all the guys. Like one guy is like in his bunk with the curtain drawn, whispering.
Light coming through from the phone.
Exactly. 2 guys are out in the parking lot circling with the phone glued to their ear. And everybody's just getting their ass chewed out. And I have to say, they're all pretty good about it, but there are certain days when maybe things haven't gone well around the house and the kids are doing something.
Shit happens and you're not there.
And I'm not there.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, anyway, sounds like you're having fun, no time to talk, so I'll just let you go. That's the one I can't. It's not the ass chewing. It's the one where it's like, no, if you don't have time, that's fine. No, I got time. I'm just on the bus. Why do I sound like I don't have time? All I said was, I got to go pee. I mean, if you want to go with me in the bathroom, I'll pee, and if you don't, then I'll pee and I'll call you right back. But that's all I said. That's okay. Go ahead. Go have fun. Say hi to Teddy and JD. Anyway, it's like when Peter Griffin stubs his toe. For like 10 minutes. So, anyway, but they are all better than we are. I'll admit that. They all have like really. All of our wives are really stable people who do good stuff for people, and we are a bunch of louses. But at the same time, we're making money. We're doing our job. We're,
Yeah, you're not off fucking off.
No.
No.
And it's not as fun as they think it is.
No.
Actually, they've all been out there for a day or two at a time, and they go, "This is what you do?"
Yeah. Last night at dinner, I mentioned I was going to be performing on the road doing a weekend, and the person we were with said, "Is Jamie going?" And I said, "She ain't going." She hates it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the worst.
Yeah, after they've seen you a while.
Oh,
it's like,
look, here's another shitty hotel you're staying in.
Yeah, I know, right?
Fantastic.
And they know all your stuff.
Oh, man.
Like when.
Oh,
right?
man.
It's like when we're on stage.
I could fill in at any moment.
Oh, yeah, right.
During the act.
She can do a tight 7 right now.
I mean, when Connie's at one of our shows, I can feel her in the audience saying, "Oh, he's going to say that thing now." He's going to, and so it inhibits you a little.
Yes, because they know your shit.
Yeah.
I think he feels my eye rolls.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Oh, I feel the eye rolls for sure.
Oh, I know. Like when I'm going to
I
introduce
think all
a
my
song.
friends feel the eye rolls, though, from me. I don't know. What do you think, Jason?
Yes.
Yeah.
You're about to
That's
introduce
true.
a song, and
Yeah, you're about to introduce a song,
get
but I've got
into
this story for the song, you know what I mean?
Sure.
And it's like, so anyway, a long time ago, I had the opportunity to be in Des Moines in the winter, and there was this, and I could just feel Connie going, "God damn it."
Des Moines in the winter.
Yeah, the Des Moines story. And it's like, and half of it's not even fucking true anyway, or whatever, It's like, and it wasn't Des Moines, it was Pacoima, and whatever, Anyway.
Oh,
So.
man. Do you guys ever play Nashville?
Yeah, occasionally. It's one of those towns is a little daunting because it's a music town. It's like playing LA or New York. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Live music capital of the world, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going there in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we're going to play there this year on tour.
I went to Jack White's Third Man Studio there.
Right.
That's pretty trippy.
Yeah.
I need to know a little bit, please, about the day you met a new neighbor in the apartment complex you were living in West Hollywood by the name of Warren. You were going to get your mail one day.
That's right, Warren Buffett. Yeah. It was. Yeah, I'll never forget it.
You thought, what are you doing here?
That's right. Yeah. And no, I lived in an apartment complex over on Kings Road in West Hollywood, and this was when I was a working actor and working writer, but I wasn't a household name, and obviously he had been for some time. And well, it depends on what household, I guess, with Warren. You know what I mean? But it was, they have the bank of mailboxes there that you go to when you come home from your whatever creepy thing you've been doing all day, and so I opened my mailbox and took out. Nobody was going to send me any mail at that point. Take out the thing from Ralph's or whatever was in there.
Sure.
And I put it back in. And I close the mailbox. I open it again. I pull it out, and I do that however many times that, whatever flavor it was that month. And Warren was standing next to me getting his mail, and he looks at me.
At that point, he was just a neighbor, someone that lived in the building.
Yeah. I mean, I knew he was Warren Zevon. He didn't know anything about me. That I was some actor guy or musician or anything. And he goes, "You got it too, huh?" And I said, yeah, I do. He said, "We should compare notes, He said, "I'm in, whatever, 321 or whatever his apartment was." And I lived there for a couple of years, 2 or 3 years, and he lived there forever. I mean, that was his place. And anyway, we started hanging out, and we became kind of, casual buddies, and then later on in the later 90s, I got to know Warren a lot better, and used to, really early to mid 90s, I used to hang out with Warren and Dwight a lot, and and J.T. Walsh occasionally, God rest him, you
JT.
know, and so
One
we
of
had
the
a
great
little
subversives of all
yeah.
time.
And Gibbons, you know, so we had a bunch of, you know, ne'er-do-wells hanging out together, and but we kind of met over our mutual OCD, and but we used to compete with each other. I'd say, oh no, you have no idea, and go through all these things, because a lot of people, when you have severe OCD, people always say, oh yeah, I have that too. I always make sure I turn my coffee cup. I said, you don't understand. This is like a full-time job for me. This is like geometry in my head and like stuff on the roof of my mouth with, you know, with my tongue, that I do these configurations that I can't describe to you. They're like crop circles and shit. And it's like, you don't even get any of this. So, but Warren and I we had a competition. It's like, do you do this? No, I do that. And we both realized it was like ours is really bad. And one day Warren said to me, do you have it with guns? And I go, no, you win. You know, never ask him what that meant. But anyway.
It's better left to our imaginations,
Yeah,
by the way. I wanted to ask, there was a record of his that he recorded ultimately in your the studio you had in the house in
Over in Beverly Hills,
Yeah.
on Roxbury, a couple of songs.
right,
Yeah.
a couple of songs.
Yeah, it was his last record, and Dwight and I did some background vocals on it, on one song. Then I did a background vocal on another song when we were over at Sunset Sound. And the most chilling moment of it was he cut the song "Knocking on Heaven's Door" in my basement, and I remember sitting in the control room looking through the glass window of the vocal booth where he was, and he was singing "Knocking on Heaven's Door." I mean, Warren knew, and he seemed like he really came to a real peace with it, you know.
He knew he was sick at that point.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And but watching him sing "Knocking on Heaven's Door" was one of the heavier things I ever saw. You know, a human do who knew their path.
Right.
Yeah.
Extraordinary, to say the very least. This was the house. I think that's the house I came to that had the studio and the yeah.
Same house.
Previous owner Slash, I want to say.
Yeah.
Is that right?
I bought it from Slash. I lived there 13 years, and I had been there before, you know, because I knew Slash casually, you know, from over at the Sunset Marquee. Well, I used to hang out over there. I lived there at the Sunset Marquee, and I'd see Slash there in the bar, and we actually kind of made the deal in the bar because Angie and I were looking for a house, and he said, dude, I heard you guys came and looked at my house, and you know, you're thinking about buying it. He goes, I hope you do, because I don't want to just sell it to anybody. It's be good to sell it to somebody who's going to use the studio and all that, you know. And I said, yeah, we did come look through it today. I said, you were asleep. I mean, because the real estate lady takes us through, and Slash is still asleep up in the bedroom. We're just like, there he was, you know. And
this is the master.
Oh yeah.
she said.
Exactly. But it was great, and I lived there. I lived there longer than Slash did. I don't know. He lived there a few years, but I had it for 13 years, and we moved like 3 or 4 years ago now. And I miss the studio in a lot of ways. It was a great place for all the pals to hang out when we weren't recording.
Right.
But you start to take it for granted a little bit.
Sure.
And you start to spend too much time down there. And there's something about driving from the west side over to Henson or A&M, we still call it, the old A&M studios, knowing you're going to work.
Right.
There's something about that, knowing that I'm only going to be there from noon to midnight.
Right.
And it's all about making this record.
Yeah.
You know.
Considerably more focused and
absolutely
there with purpose.
Yes.
Because if it's also the space where you just shoot the shit in, then the lines get blurred.
Exactly.
Now, our dear Sam Levine is wearing a particular ball cap. You're a lifelong fan of the St. Louis Cardinals, whose rivalry, of course, with the Chicago Cubs is the oldest rivalry in the American professional sports. What are your thoughts on the Cubs season and playoffs and ultimate World Series victory?
Mean question.
It's here's the thing.
Yeah.
The Cardinals, in a lot of ways, are what the Patriots are in the NFL. Mm-hmm. Everybody hates the Patriots because they've been winning so long. And I'm a Colts fan, so, you know. But I respect the Patriots because why wouldn't you? I mean, Belichick, I mean, what kind of coach is that guy? He's and Tom Brady, you get it.
Yeah.
But also, you know, and Brady is like so good and his life is so, you know, it's like, did somebody make this up?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you know, he looks like, you know, Brick Rock House from, you know, whatever, you know, he's like, hi, how are you know. And he's, you know, he's even got the dimple and shit, and the most beautiful model in the world.
I'm waiting for him
to
play Batman in a movie.
I know, right?
With that chin.
And so, you know, and you just imagine him in the, and I know it's not this way, but you imagine, you know, they're back in the locker room before the game, and he's drinking a glass of milk saying, now fellas, we're going to hit them high, we're going to hit them low, we're going to win this darn game. You understand me?
Yeah.
Now let's go, team.
Yeah.
Everybody gather around. You know, but you know, it's not that, but
Nope.
still, he looks like he should have the sweater, like in the old movies, a sweater with the big S or whatever it is on it. You know, that whole thing.
Sure, team sweater.
And so the Cardinals, in a lot of ways, are that way for other people in baseball, because the Cardinals, you know, win the division practically every year. We've been in this series a long time. Next to the Yankees, who won more World Series than anybody. And so the Cardinals are sort of the National League version of the Yankees, because a lot of people are Yankee haters, because like the Yankees, you know. Yeah. And so with me, it's the Red Sox, you know, in terms of the American League, because they whipped their asses in this series twice.
Right.
But
my curiosity is
anyways.
if you can find any appreciation for what those poor sons of bitches,
the Cubs.
the Cub fans, had to endure at the hands of St. Louis, but also to have this miraculous year. Is there any part of you?
Easy to say before it happened, and this is pretty much across the board of most Cardinal fans I know. We've always had this rivalry with the Cubs, and you always wanted to beat the Cubs when they play them. But the rest of the year, we haven't been worried about the Cubs in a long time.
No, you haven't.
We just didn't worry about them. So when people would ask me, "Well, hey, you guys got a huge rivalry with the Cubs," and I'd be like, "No, we have a love-hate thing. We really respect the Cubs organization, and we love them. You know, it's like this dear old rivalry, a little brother, a dear old rivalry. You know, we really hate the Reds and Brewers, and and then you got to worry about the Pirates all of a sudden. And but you know, we had some rows with the Reds and the Brewers. So those were the guys over the last decade or so that Cardinal fans didn't like. But then when it was obvious the Cubs were going to win the division,
It
changed everything. And then all of a sudden, my friends are saying, "Yeah, but come on, they haven't been there in so long." I don't give a shit. They were never fucking there.
This is what I wanted to hear.
I don't care. And then when they got in the World Series, and people would say, "I mean, I know you're a Cardinals fan, but I mean, you got to give them props."
Nope.
No, I don't.
No, I don't.
Are you shitting me?
Yeah.
Fuck them. I hope they lose every game, 150 to fucking nothing. I don't give a shit. You know, I hope like lights explode.
Yeah.
I hope, whatever.
Yeah. When my Giants come to town and you go into the game, no, I won't step 1 foot in the Dodger Stadium. Not one fucking foot. They should be set on fire before I go to that
Absolutely.
game. Yeah.
No, I get it. And I've felt that way about the Giants at times when the Cardinals are playing, because Giants are always scary. I mean, you never know.
Last 6 years, anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I told you I went to high school with Dave Rigetti. I don't know if I told you.
Yeah, you did tell me.
Greg.
Yeah, it's pretty great. Yeah.
When I knew when the Cubs were going to win the 2016 division?
What's that?
After Game 5 of the NLDS in 2015.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's when I knew.
That makes sense. I mean, we all knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Because they had all these real sort of hosses coming up, and you could just see it. These guys are good. They're not going away. This is the real thing.
Yeah.
And you know what's good about when you hate a team, and you talk to one of their fans, they respect you for hating them, and we respect the guy.
If you're a real fan,
if you're a real fan,
right.
They don't get mad at you when you say that, because they get it.
Right. You better hate
real sports fans get your hatred for somebody.
Yeah.
And this is really sad. This is like where the actor comes through.
Uh-oh.
It's like when Tom Brady was going through the Deflategate thing, he put out a thing on the internet, and with a lot of just footage of the Patriots and stuff, and their winning seasons year after year and all this kind of stuff. To my speech from Friday Night Lights, my halftime speech from Friday Night Lights, which has become like a big kind of speech in sports things. And like people...
Like that was cut throughout it, you mean?
Yeah, he put this video together to my speech. Well, here, I've been like, fuck the Patriots, every year for like ever. Because, they beat the Colts like every fucking year, And so I would watch the Patriots and be like, God damn it, another Patriots win. I'm just like, I would get sick every Sunday. Then Brady comes out with this thing, and somebody says to me, a good friend of mine who's a big Patriots fan, he says, have you seen Brady's thing on the internet? He did it to your speech from Friday Night Lights. No, I didn't see it. Really? My speech? Yeah, cool. I watched it and heard my speech with it, and I swear to God, it's real hard for me now because he used my speech.
Yes.
And so just the asshole ego inside me, when I saw that, I was like, he's not that bad a fucking guy. and then find myself saying, you don't understand. Everybody deflates their fucking balls. And I'm like,
That's beautiful.
I know.
That is beautiful. But that's human.
It is human.
It's not just actor bullshit. That's completely human.
It is.
I can't stand that guy. Wait, what? He thinks I'm okay?
Yeah.
Right. He's
Exactly.
cool.
Tom Brady's a big fan of yours. Really? The next thing you know, like all my Colt shit's in the dumpster.
Oh, man. Well, I remember in 06, games 3, 4, and 5, when the Cards beat the unbeatable Tigers.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember after game 5, we were in the locker room. It must have been, I was all cozy with Tony La Russa at the time, still dear friends, love him.
Yep.
But it must have been 2 in the morning, and Bob Gibson is telling a story about how he played in the off-season one year for the Harlem Globetrotters.
Oh, yeah.
And this is my memory of it, and I've dined on it a few times, so tell me if I've got this wrong. He played in the off-season for the Harlem Globetrotters after he'd had some success with the Cardinals. And when they came back for spring training, the owner of the Cardinals came to him and said, I heard you played with the Harlem Globetrotters in the off-season. Bob said, yes, sir. He said, yeah, we'd really appreciate it if you didn't do that. You might get injured. Well, I got to feed my family. And what do they pay you for a season with the Harlem Globetrotters? And it was some low amount. My memory was $500, but it was something.
Something like that.
Yeah. They paid me $500, sir. And the owner took $500 out of his pocket and handed it to him and said, take next winter off.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that your memory?
It was like that.
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact wording, but it was a story like that, yeah.
Wow.
But when you think about that, those guys back then, and the money guys make now, there was a Sports Illustrated back in, I don't know, late 68 maybe, somewhere in there, the year they lost to the Tigers in the series. One of the worst years of my life. The year before, 67, we'd beat the Red Sox in the series. And I think it was around then. But it was when they had Julian Javier and Dal Maxville at short and second, and Cepeda and all these guys, Gibson and Mike Shannon. And they showed the starting lineup of the Cardinals. On the inside flap of that Sports Illustrated, it was a fold-out cover, right? Folded out, and they're sitting on the bench in the locker room with their salaries underneath them. And it was talking about how big some of the salaries had gotten in baseball. And I don't think I'm making this up. I think Julian Javier and Dal Maxville, and those guys were great fielders, but they hit like 229 and stuff, I think they made $8,500 a year, something like that.
Sure.
I think that was it. And I believe Gibson got 125 or 150,000 a season. I believe.
Yeah.
And I could be wrong, but it was somewhere in that area. And I was thinking about that. It's like, wow, that was a different world. And that was after, I think, the whole free agent. That's after our own center fielder, Kurt Flood, raised the big stink about, you got to pay me or I'm going to go somewhere else.
That was unheard of. It was, what do you mean you're going to go someplace else?
Yeah.
This is where you play.
So, and now, But a lot of people, they talk about athletes' salaries and everything, but when you think about it, you got guys, an NFL lineman or something like that. I mean, that guy's going to retire before he's 40. He's
Well
be
before.
36 years old, 35 maybe.
Washed up at 36.
Yeah, and then what do you do the rest of your life? You sell cars in Long Beach or somewhere, and
It's always Long Beach.
Bellflower Boulevard, Bill Johnson's used cars. Bill was a guard for the Lions. And he's now got, hip replacements and everything, and he's still really what you and I would view as a kid now.
Oh, yeah.
How
How about that?
So, I mean, God bless them if they make that money,
You got a Golden Globe since I saw you last. That didn't suck
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah, it feels good, when you get those things.
I remember, I don't want to say Burt Reynolds was a hero of yours, but you certainly worked with him, and there must have been a moment in time when he was close to that. I remember one year at the Golden Globes when he won for the television show.
Evening Shade.
Evening Shade, and he said in his speech something, I'm paraphrasing, "It's great to be up here for this. I used to sit over there with the film people,
Yeah,
and now I'm over there with the TV people."
yeah.
And there was a ginormous divide. I don't remember what year that would have been in those
Probably-
worlds.
Yeah, 90, 91, 92, right in there probably.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And without question, and certainly your turn in Fargo, which I want to talk about, is part of this renaissance of how much greater one-hour dramas, often in the miniseries form, has become in comparison to the vanishing independent film world that can't really survive.
Yeah.
So let's start with Fargo. When Fargo comes along, you'd work with the Coen brothers, of course. The Man Who Wasn't There, which I cannot recommend more highly as a truly original and unique piece of work by everyone involved. Dear Lord. And I read that you knew them friendly, first of all. You met through mutual friends and they were a fan, but you had an interesting comment, which was, but you can't rush them in terms of when you're going to end up working with them.
That's right.
They know when the timing's right.
Yes.
That was a very insightful sort of comment that I thought.
They're very particular about who they cast in what role, and they know their reasons, and it'll come.
Right.
But they're not the kind of guys you start taking them out to dinner all the time thinking maybe you'll get a part. That doesn't work with those guys.
But when they say they're a fan, they mean it.
Yeah.
And it may not
And
be.
someday,
Yeah.
And I knew him from a mutual friend of ours used to give a Super Bowl party, and he had done movies. He was a producer, and he'd done movies with all these different people, and he had produced Tombstone too, and
Oh, man.
so all those guys were always there. Our dear friend Paxton, who I was just at his service Sunday, and Friday, and this is Sunday, so the day before yesterday, and so he was always there, and Sam Elliott and Kurt Russell, all those guys, Powers Booth, and the Coens were usually there,
Right.
and I got to kind of know him just hanging out with him and stuff like that, and they would always say, "Hey man, I really like that thing you did," and all this stuff. And then when they did "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou," I was like, "Fuck Clooney! What's he did? What? What?" I said, "This is a movie about fucking hillbillies and a chain gang in Mississippi. Or what the hell it is? What the fuck is he? What's Clooney doing in this?"
Yeah.
He's not from. He is from Kentucky, but you don't look at Clooney
Not
like
that part of Kentucky.
And I was like, "Why? I know these guys. I mean, Tim Blake Nelson and
John Turturro.
John Turturro and Clooney. Why is this not me and Paxton and Dennis Quaid?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't understand this.
Don't you want it to be authentic?
Yeah." And so, and of course, those guys were great.
How
in the
good
movie.
was George, by the way?
And George is great in it. And
It was ridiculous.
and John and Tim were great in it.
Holy
and,
crap, yeah.
And they're all excellent actors, and I loved the movie, and they were just terrific. And I totally understood I mean, in my heart, I knew.
But it didn't make sense at the time.
But yeah, initially, you know, when you see it happen, you're like, gosh, damn it.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, well, that was probably the only movie they're ever going to make that I was right for. And then they called me one day, and they were both on the line, and I'd gotten a call from my agent saying, the Coen brothers want to talk to you. And then it's like, you know, I was thinking, you know, they doing a charity benefit and want to know if I'll sign a poster or something, you know. And they're both on the line, and Joel said, yeah, so Billy, listen, we got this movie. It's about a barber who wants to be in a dry cleaning business, and we want you to star in it. And I said, all right. And I hadn't seen the script or anything.
Nope.
And I'd agreed to it on the phone with them right then. And they said, well, I mean, well, look, we can tell you more about it. We'll send you the script. I said, no, you don't understand. I said, I'm saying yes, I'll do it. I don't give a shit what it is. I said, I'm doing it because I know it's going to be good. And if I dawdle too much, you know, Clooney will be in it or something, you know. So then I read the script and I absolutely loved it.
Sure.
And saw what they were going to do with it, and we had the greatest time on that movie. And I'm glad you responded to it because
oh man,
it may be my favorite of everything I've done.
I don't doubt it for a second. It's extraordinary. Also, just the execution of an idea.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah,
that level of execution on all levels, creatively and artistically, is just absurd.
And largely overlooked to the States. I mean, you know,
sure.
In Europe, they really loved it, and
you can't market that film with the commercial world that we live in.
Yeah, it was black and white,
Yeah.
and you know, and I got nominated for some things for it, but it was still
purposely slow, and to the American audience at that point, they just didn't have patience for it, I'm sure.
Right.
But I'll bet you got some amazing reviews.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
And I did read that it was huge in Europe.
Oh yeah. I got their British Film Critics Circle Best Actor thing over there to go over there and do the whole thing with them, and it was great. They just saw it differently, you know. And I don't know if you could. You know, maybe you can make it now, but I don't think you can make it at a studio. I think you'd make it with some oil guy, you know, who wants to hang out with the actors or whatever.
You had her running with one of those Russian.
Oh yeah. That guy, the Russian guy that financed a movie of mine, he was actually in the arts over there. He was like a Ukrainian guy, you know. He was. His family had started like the first free radio and television stations over there in Ukraine and stuff, and he did a lot of humanitarian documentaries and stuff like that. So he was like the. Well,
that's a fluke, because when you hear my financier is a Russian fella, that's not the first thing that comes to mind.
No, this was a different kind of guy.
Yeah,
he was like all into the arts and stuff. I mean, otherwise I don't think he would have ever responded to that script I wrote.
Oh man, that's another beautiful one, honestly and truly. So when you get the script for a TV version, a reimagining of Fargo, and Noah Hawley, is that how you say his last name? Hawley. He did not have the pedigree that suggested he was going to take the baton from the Coen brothers. Let's face it.
Right.
He'd done a lot of work, written novels, but when you read one of the writer-producers from Bones, you don't think, wow, of course he's going to take the baton from the Coen brothers. Dear fucking Lord, that script must have been exceptional for them and you to instantly say yes.
Absolutely. I mean, the script is flawless, and I was one of those holdouts like you were talking about. I mean, I was from the old school of you don't do TV. But I knew that independent film was going downhill, and that, you know, whereas an independent film used to be a $7 to $15, $16 million movie, even up to 20, you know, especially when Miramax was first doing it and all that.
Sure.
And Lionsgate, you know, those guys. And so independent film was still it was a studio film in a way because they were just independent film studios. It wasn't the big boys.
Just as cast contingent.
Right.
You better get some huge names for our $3 million budget.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it continued on up into like the early 2000s, and then I woke up one day and realized independent film, which was my bread and butter. I still did the big studio movies, but that's really where I'd made my name. Monsters Ball and Simple Plan and Sling Blade and things like that.
Sure.
And so when everybody started talking about TV, and I guess kind of after The Sopranos, it really started to snowball, you know, and actors wanted to be in TV, but I still, because I didn't watch any of it,
right.
And I don't keep up. I don't read the trade papers. I don't know what's going on. And anytime somebody says, hey, have you seen so-and-so? Really interesting piece. I was like, yeah, I'm watching basketball or whatever. So, and my common joke is, you know, hey, did you see the new movie so-and-so? I said the last movie I saw was The Sting, you know. But I was told that I was offered this series that they're doing from Fargo. My first thought was, well, I wonder if the Coen brothers think this is a good idea.
Right. And
I went and met with Warren Littlefield and Noah Hawley at my manager's office. And they were very smart about it. And I'd read the script already, and I told them, I said, look, this is, I don't know how you did it, but you managed to capture the vibe of the Coen brothers, keep everything intact from the movie, just in terms of tone, and yet you created a whole new thing here.
Right.
This is pretty incredible.
It really is ridiculous.
Yeah. And so by that time, I was kind of clued into the fact that FX and Amazon and Netflix were a big deal, and that's where actors wanted to be because that's where independent film was. It was only now in 10 episodes instead of doing an hour-and-a-half movie. Right. And after the experience of Fargo, I've never been one to just go out there and then go, oh yeah, this is fine, I'll just say that. You know, I mean, I generally say, you know what, Ralph, come here a minute. This, you know.
But also a guy who'd been in the Writers Guild since
a long time.
Right?
Yeah.
Not just an actor who is not comfortable with these words.
Right. And I looked at this, and I mean, on Fargo, I rarely improvised anything.
Yeah, there was a
line.
There was a quote in here about you saying how you had pretty much worked as an improvisational actor your whole career, other than with the Coen brothers.
Right. Yeah. I always said their stuff because with the Coen brothers, you may look at something and go, hey, you know what might be interesting here, but what you don't realize at the time is that if you don't do that the way that's written, this thing on page 73 doesn't make any sense.
It's a musical rhythm.
It really is a musical rhythm. Mm-hmm. And so I had one improvised line in Men Who Wasn't There. And it's when Scarlett Johansson, who was like 15 or whatever at the time, Scarlett was in this car with me, and we had this car accident because she's trying to meddle with my nether parts. You know, I'm driving the car, and I've taken an interest in her as a piano player, thinking I can be a manager or whatever, you know. And she thinks that she's disappointed me because she didn't pass this piano audition, and she's trying to go down here with me, you know, while I'm driving. And I'll never forget, Scarlett was a tough gal, Scarlett, you know, she's a sweet, wonderful person, but doesn't suffer fools, you know, gladly. I mean, she's,
even then?
Yeah, even then, at 15. Joel and Ethan were afraid of her. They used to ask me to go tell her to do stuff. And so,
oh my God.
But I had a furniture pad on my lap.
Sure.
Just out of respect, you know, and she said, what's that? What are you doing with that? And I go, well, I put it there just kind of be polite and, you know,
have some
respectful.
Space between.
Yeah. And she goes, what are you, an idiot? Or whatever she said to me. She said, do that. And I said, all right, sorry. And but in that scene, she, when she's about to do that, the night before we shot that scene, I was watching Snagglepuss.
Of course, as one does.
Yes. And
all right already.
Exactly, that guy. And And when I was a kid, I'd loved Snagglepuss, and I'd told Angie that, and she got me, somehow she found a collection on VHS tape of Snagglepuss, and we were watching it, and Snagglepuss said, "Heavens to Murgatroyd,"
That's right.
and all, and "Heavens to Betsy," exit stage right or whatever.
Sure.
And so the second I heard Snagglepuss say "Heavens to Betsy," I was like, I got to use this because it was the language of the movie.
Oh, great.
And so when we had the car accident and she started doing that, this girl, I just go, "Heavens to Betsy, Bertie," and then we have the car accident.
Right.
But I didn't just say it in the scene. I went to Joel and Ethan and I said, "Listen, guys, there's something I want to say in this scene." And it wasn't like, "Yeah, go ahead." It was like, "What is it?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Explain it to us.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I was watching Snagglepuss, and the language of Ed Crane, who was the character, I said, he would say when Bertie is trying to do this thing,
Yeah, there are certain
he would say
things that were in the vernacular.
Exactly.
Hell's bells.
That's right.
Go pound
Exactly.
salt or sand. We found
Exactly.
out since.
I got a headache to beat the band.
Right.
The one guy says, Michael. And so I said, "Heavens to Betsy, Bertie," and Ethan has this funny laugh. He's like, he thought it was funny, so they let me do it.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So you checked in with them before saying yes to Fargo, the TV show.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I called them up and said, "How are you
And they had
guys?"
worked a little bit on the script with Noah, right? Or you gave some notes?
Yeah, they gave some notes, and I think maybe did a little something to it. I don't know to what extent, but I do know that they'd said, "Yeah, we like this," and they have their blessing. And I actually talked to Ethan, is who I talked to. I didn't talk to Joel, and I said, "Are you guys on board with this?" And he goes, "Yeah, I think the hell are we going to do? Sure."
If it's done well enough, it's written. I mean, it's their movie, Fargo. Again, is a flawless film, in my opinion.
Yeah.
There's not a damn thing wrong with it.
Yeah.
It is
it's
just
great.
extraordinary.
Great movie.
And somehow the television show, like you said, captures it, and then there's a whole new original thing. Did you watch season 2, by the way?
Yeah, I saw not all of it, but I saw some. It's terrific. I mean, he keeps making good stuff.
When I heard it was season 2, I thought, well, you can't beat season 1. What's the point of doing season 2? And then I watched season 2, and I thought, this guy's the real thing.
Yeah.
He's created another completely original moment in time of this milieu or world.
He struck something about them and their vibe struck something in him, and he has it. It's like when something comes along. I remember when Steve Martin came along.
Sure.
And I was working for this sound company as a roadie, and Steve used to open for the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band with this banjo, and he had kind of longer hair, and he wore the buckskin clothes and all that stuff, doing the same stuff he did when he got really famous. But I'd never heard someone or seen that kind of comedy.
It was a whole new sound.
It was a new sound, right. And I'm sitting back at the sound mixing board with the front of house guy. I couldn't breathe. This guy comes out, and it was like this sense of humor that already exists in you,
right?
But you didn't know. You knew it, and so I'm listening to Frank Zappa and the Mother's Invention when I'm 11, but it's like I got that. But then Steve Martin's brand of humor, it just hadn't quite ever been done, and yet it was in people that nobody had awoken it or whatever you would say, and. So when I saw that, it was like, wow, it's a whole new world, you know. And same thing, Jim Jarmusch's movies,
right?
And the Coen brothers. It's like they struck a chord with people who didn't know quite how to say that yet.
Yeah, and there's something in you that connects to it immediately, and you realize, oh, that was already in me.
Yeah.
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 And it's not being derivative, it's actually being inspired by the way so many writers have throughout time when it comes to who inspired you before you.
Right.
Woody Allen even pointing out that when he does the famous, that he got that from Bob Hope. And you watch early Bob Hope, and there's that riff.
Well, I never thought
Bob
of that.
Hope was the first one. Yes, well, you may want to check with the.
That's amazing.
It is, but again, Woody made it his own, and it becomes his signature.
Sure, and people fall into it. Like when you do a Coen Brothers thing, you somehow, without trying, you become a part of their world and of their tone.
Yeah.
And with Woody Allen, you notice you watch a Woody Allen movie and all of a sudden you got whoever it is that's
Speaking
in there
like him.
speaking like Woody Allen. All of
Yeah.
a sudden they're stuttering and stammering and stuff like this, and
Yeah,
it's like
Jesse Eisenberg's the new
Jesse
Woody Allen.
Eisenberg is.
Oh,
Been in his
right,
last
right.
couple films,
Yeah.
and it's very obvious he's just playing him.
But also the Zelig effect. Christopher Guest was here a couple weeks ago, and we talked about when you're around people who speak in a certain rhythm, do you find yourself speaking in that rhythm?
right.
And I think that's something that is in actors anyway.
You did it last night. We went to see The Apartment, and we came out of the theater talking like Jack Lemmon. Yes, you did.
Oh, that's so
It was at
good.
the Aero Theater in Santa Monica on the big screen.
Oh, wow.
35 millimeter print.
He's
Doing
one
it
of-
today. This is the most Southern I've ever heard you sound.
but it is true.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of actors and performers do
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
fall into other people's thing because first of all, you have to be a good observer or you can't be a good actor. So, and also you want to get the most out of that conversation. In order to do that, you kind of have to meet them.
It becomes a
halfway.
way to engage.
It really is a way to
interesting.
engage. And but you know where it gets you in trouble? Not in trouble, but I mean, I grew up as a Democrat and a liberal guy, and I was a hippie and all this kind of stuff. And then as you get older, you know, you start to get some more conservative ideas that kind of start to sneak in, you know, and you hang on to the days when you were a kid a little bit more, so you start to see things and go, yeah, my dad was right about that or whatever. But essentially, I'm a pretty liberal guy. But then because I'm from the South, I'll run into a guy sometimes, you know, who is like, because I'm from the South, and this is not just about the South. This could be in Bakersfield, it could be in Wisconsin, wherever it is. But let's say a guy who's very conservative, and because I'm from the South, assumes that I am.
Right.
But so I don't get beat up or shot, I will then become more that guy while I'm talking to him.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like, hey man, tell you what, damn good thing we got this guy in there now, because I'm like, hey, you know, I won't say it, but I'll, you know,
Yeah.
yeah, man. But
How about that wall?
yeah, exactly.
Lucky you that you can get away with that.
What's that?
Lucky you can get away with that because you know you've got the accent, but also you live in liberal. So if someone knew you were a liberal, they go, "Oh yeah, that makes sense. He lives out here."
Right.
If I'm in Louisiana,
Right.
and someone's like, "Hey, good thing we got that Obama out of the White House," I go, "Yeah,
Yeah, right.
good thing. He was making me sick, fellas.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about health care next."
How about
But then on the other hand, you know, growing up in the South, the other thing that happens to you is people, you know, the South gets blamed for a lot of stuff, you know, and there are a lot of assumptions made, and there's so many liberal, artsy kind of people in the South, and like, you know, literary societies and things like this, and I used to do a one-man show, and I would start it out by saying, okay, I'm from the South, so you guys probably think I sleep with my sister and all that kind of stuff. Which, remember Blake Clark?
Sure. Of course.
Stand-up guy.
Love
Yeah,
him.
he was from Georgia, I think. And Blake Clark used to have a joke where he'd say, yeah, I'm from Georgia, and you guys think, oh, I grew up down there all my life and everything, and you probably think I was, you know, sleep with my sister and all this kind of stuff. Well, look, let me tell you something. Spent my whole life down there and everything. I never slept with my sister. Fucked her. but anyway, it's like, you know, but you get a lot of guff, you know, sometimes from that. And,
Of course.
And there's a huge faction of people there. So, in other words, it's not confined to the South. I mean, you can find, you know, really conservative, you know, or like a redneck or whatever they want to call it, you know, anywhere in the United States.
Yeah.
And so there's that you have to sometimes explain to people that it's not all that.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
And also a lot of those small conversations, you just doing what you can to end them.
Yeah.
How do I get out of this quickly? Let's not get out of this next thing quickly. You mentioned our friend Bill Paxton and going to the funeral on Friday.
Yeah.
Let's just talk a little bit about the extraordinary talent that was Bill Paxton. And also, I've rarely met anyone in show business or out of it who was more genuine and could raise the levels of everyone's hopes in a sentence. He had an old world element to him. Did you guys meet on the Raimi picture?
No, no. Oh, no. Bill and I did One False Move together
of course.
back in
of course,
back.
Of course.
I think we made that in 1990 or something, and
you co-wrote,
and then
right?
co-wrote with Tom Epperson, and Bill and I co-starred in it with Cinda Williams, and then I was in Tombstone. I had a couple scenes in Tombstone with Bill, and but we met way before it One False Move. We met in the 80s and just around.
Sure.
You know, I don't even remember the moment or what it was, but we used to run around together. So we were kind of up and coming actors together, and used to, you know, go to Cat and Fiddle and, you know, all these places, shoot pool at the Hollywood Athletic Club. We were running buddies. We were pretty inseparable from the 80s up to the late 90s or so, and then he moved up north of town, up to Ojai, and then you see each other a couple times a year and talk on the phone once in a while, and it's just one of those reminders. And I was talking to a couple of our mutual friends at the service the other day about it, saying, guys, we got to start hanging out again. We got to have a Rat Pack again, because we used to do it, and people don't do it as much anymore. And it just reminds you that you gotta, because it happened to Ritter, who was one of my closest friends, and you know, you lose touch, and because you don't expect that. You know, Bill's a young guy, and so it's like, well, one of these days we'll start hanging out a lot. But I did get the opportunity to see him in the last few months 2 or 3 times because of Sam Raimi, really, because Sam was having a few get-togethers during the holiday time and everything.
Oh, nice.
And Bill and I got to see each other a few times, and Bill was one of those guys who encouraged you.
Yeah.
And he didn't have that envy bone in him.
No.
Like if you did something or you won the award and he didn't, he would go tell everybody, "Hey man, Billy won the fucking big prize, man. It's so cool, man. Way to go, buddy."
Yeah.
You know?
And it was genuine, and you knew it.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, and just his vernacular around certain things had a real genuine salt of the earth, almost down home.
Yeah.
We were shooting this thing up above Toronto, and there was a golf course nearby, and him and Matt Craven would try to go out when we could.
Wow.
And I just remember one little Paxton-ism, which was, Billy, you want to go ahead? Yep, let me go get my tools. And he just meant his golf clubs.
Yeah.
You know, and it was that was just a small little example of again, just this salt of the earth, genuine, and it was just and authentic from the moment you met him. You knew this guy's not wanting to be a part of this other time. He actually is from this other time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his work was always great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just heard him on a long interview on Marc Maron just a few weeks before.
Really?
Talking about the new TV show
Right.
and his experiences directing.
He was a good director too.
Yeah.
Very good director.
Solid as hell.
Yeah.
Frailty is still
Frailty's terrific. Yeah.
one of my favorite movies.
All right, well, I just didn't want to have this time go by without talking about him a little
absolutely.
bit.
Yeah, there's a bunch of us guys who were born the same year, and Bill, we're all within a few months of each other. Costner and
Right.
Bruce Willis and Bill and Dennis Quaid. Dennis is 1 year older than the rest of us, but yeah, we all had the same life experience, kind of, you know, and came from the same, you know, pop culture and all that stuff.
Yeah, it is strange. You mentioned Bruce, and we mentioned Slayton a little earlier, and Barry Levinson and Bandits. What was that experience like? Because somewhere in the research it said Barry was one of your favorites in terms of the directors you worked with. I worked with him, and I found him to be, I called him the Phantom.
Yeah.
I said, you're great at writing and casting. I don't remember being directed by him once. Like he would say, all right, so Kevin, you and Billy are at the table, and you're talking, there's a coffee mug, and action.
Yeah, right.
Cut. That was astounding.
That's fantastic.
That was astounding.
That's a good impression. That's very good.
Astounding. So Billy, you've got the glass, and the glasses are there, and there's a pen. Action.
Oh yeah.
He would just talk about what.
It's so great.
Right?
It's so great because it's so much better than this guy. Kevin?
Hate him already.
Yeah. Look, this guy, here's who Joe is, at least today.
Oh, God.
This is who Joe is. And you're like, you know, just tell me louder or something like that. Don't, you know. And like Duvall, you know, Duvall was my mentor. And he taught me a long time ago, that ain't the guy to listen to, you know. And he would let them know it, you know. But the guy who wants to start talking about the psychology of a character right before a scene, it's like, dude, it's too late for that.
Yeah.
You hired me already.
Yeah.
So the psychology lesson ain't going to help any. All I'm doing here is I'm going to get in a pickup truck and then going to kill my uncle. Look, I get it. You know.
If you want to remind me of what happened right before this, because I don't seem connected to it, that's fine.
And by the way, if you're doing your job as an actor, here's the face I have when I'm going to kill my uncle. Here's the face I have when I'm going to get a cheeseburger. It's the same fucking thing. You know what I mean?
You're not indicating either.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I remember I saw a movie one time with this pretty big actress, and I wouldn't mention her anyway, but I don't remember.
Sure.
But it was in the 80s. And it was, you know, studio movie, big movie, and as I remember, a pretty big director. But she was in a car driving, and there was a voiceover. It was her, you know, her own voice. So she's listening to herself. And I was thinking at the time, this is a classy organization here, big time actors and director and studio. Did they play the voiceover on a little cassette thing in the car with her?
So she could make a face?
Because she made every face that the voiceover said, and this was a good actor. But she's driving along going, I wonder if he's going to leave me. Oh, surely he won't.
Oh, God.
But then,
oh, no.
What if he does? You know, and it was like
no.
literally the facial expressions of everything that was in the voiceover.
Oh, no.
And that was one of the great lessons for me. I remember watching that and thinking, just don't ever do that. You know, don't do that part.
You mentioned Duvall. You directed him, of course. What was that like with him having been the mentor that you?
Well, we were scared shitless on Sling Blade. He was making a movie that Tom and I had written at the time called A Family Thing that was with him and James Earl Jones. And they were shooting in Memphis, and we were shooting down the road, down the I-30 there. And so I'd been over there to visit him a time or two when we were in pre-production on Sling Blade, and I'd ask him if he'd come do the part. Yeah, I'll do it. So he was just going to come in. They drove down in a limo. He had a driver that brought him from Memphis, about an hour and a half or so, you know. And he was going to come do the scene and then and just go back to Memphis. And before he got there, because our crew was kind of like the Animal House bunch. It's my same folks I still use, you know. And, you know, just a whole crew of pirates, basically,
right.
You know. And
ragtag.
Yeah, ragtag bunch. And I don't have rules on the set like a lot of directors do, like making everybody shut up all the time. I like the life on the set. So until we're rolling and actually doing it, I let people just be as loud as they want. And, you know, people just, you know, come in, you know, eating a sandwich, you know, while you're trying to rehearse and sit down with the crew. It's real loose. And before Duvall got there, I said, listen, you pricks shut up, all right? When he's here, because I want to get through this, you know, and when we're shooting this scene, everybody shut up. Don't be walking around behind him and stuff like that.
With a sandwich.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, lighting guys, I said, don't be moving shit around because you didn't quite get your little fucking eyebrow right or whatever the hell it is. And your tweenies, you know, moved in their fucking spots and whatever. I said, just don't move, shut the fuck up, and let's get the scene over with. He'll be here a couple hours. You can surely do that. Well, his limo driver pulls up in the front yard of this old shitty house that we're shooting at, and he comes in there. We had no transportation department on that movie. We had no dressing rooms, no honey wagon, no anything. We would walk from location to location sometimes, and whoever got in the one van we had, which was also our track, our dolly.
That's right.
We put it on the van. And so anyway, he comes in, he pulls his clothes off and puts the union suit. He's wearing just a thermal suit, in the scene. And he sits in the chair and he's saying, okay, well, what are we going to be? And I come up and I said, during his close-up especially, shut the fuck up. And so everybody said, okay, all right, don't worry about it. And so I had a sandbag in front of me because I'm supposed to walk into a certain spot and there's supposed to just be a little of me showing in this one shot on him. So there's a sandbag there for me to run into so that I didn't go any further because I don't like, looking down. And so I did that. So I'm standing there by the sandbag and he does this whole thing, and I'd written some of the lines, but then all this thing about his dog, there's a thing in there, he's going, where'd you go? I hadn't seen you in 40 years, whatever it was. He's muttering to himself before I come in. And we did like 2 takes of that thing. And right in the middle of the second take, somebody started a fucking car, and loud too. I kicked the sandbag, thought I broke my foot, screamed, went out, chewed everybody's ass out. The PAs are supposed to be locking everything up, went off on them, and which is not my nature. And but I just went crazy because I was terrified that Duvall was going to lose his mind. Well, Duvall just sat there.
He didn't care.
He didn't care. He was fine. Well, I went off on these folks, and then one of the poor PAs, this kid we hired, he goes, I'm so sorry, it was Mr. Duvall's driver, so I didn't want to say anything. So Duvall's driver had started the car. It was right outside the front door. He was going to move the car.
Oh, you jackass.
And that was the thing. And so then I told Bobby, I said, Bobby, that was your driver, just so you know. What? He didn't even care. Yeah.
He didn't even hear the car start.
No. and that's really the thing about when actors blow up during a scene, it's generally out of their own insecurity.
Oh.
It's generally not because of what somebody did, because this whole thing about the eye line, maybe some people have a thing. I never did, because I look at it this way. If they're doing your close-up and there's a camera right, 3 feet from you.
We've already broke reality.
You've done it already. There's the camera, you got an operator, you got an AC, you got a guy with a fuzzy microphone like 2 inches above your head. And so already, people are not only
Shit ain't real.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, people are not only in your eye line, they're in your butt line, they're in every line. They're like all over the place.
Yeah.
And somewhere way over there in the corner of the stage, there's somebody at craft service whispering and eating a fucking bag of Cheetos. There's always something.
Yeah.
So what's the difference in 5 people in front of you and 25?
Right.
They're there anyway.
Yeah.
And if you're really in the scene, you don't notice.
Right.
But if you're not quite sure you're getting it done,
Right.
and something moves.
Yeah.
There's the excuse
I've
right
noticed
there.
it in others, and every now and then I'll catch it in myself, and I'm thinking, why am I asking these questions when reality is I'm not comfortable with what I had prepared in this scene, and that's my fucking problem. It's not the guy with the thing
Yeah.
at all.
That's
What
right.
about noise, though?
Well, if it's a quiet scene, noise can be a hell of a distraction.
Yeah. Noise
That's
is
the only
worse.
thing I've ever complained about, is if I'm doing a quiet scene and I can hear ambient noise,
Yeah.
that I'm like, we got to stop, that has to go away.
Yeah.
Noise is bad. I mean, visual stuff is what doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
Noise, and I can tolerate even a little noise as long as it's just, little incidental noise here and there. But the worst one for me is when some character didn't turn his radio off. Oh. That's if you're just about to start bawling at
On cue.
your father's grave.
Yeah. On cue.
And so, did you guys move that, 4-wheeler down to the, and it's like, God damn it, Yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's,
the
that's
radio.
not good.
Oh, not now.
Yeah, it's so abrasive, you know, sounding. Yeah, that's a bad one. But yeah, but I usually just stop and so you know, really.
Yeah.
You know, Mike Nichols. Speaking of really, I did primary colors.
Yeah.
And Mike, who was of course legendary by then, and Elaine May had written the script, and so every day we get a Nichols and Elaine May show. They would talk with each other. It was amazing. And Mike didn't have to yell at any actors or crew people because his voice was, you know, he talked like this, you know. And you could probably actually do his voice, but that was the vibe.
Right.
And he only said it to me one time, but I forgot to wear my tie one day. And you know, I guess you'd say, well, maybe that's a wardrobe person's fault, but not really, because they give you the tie. Don't forget your tie, you know. No.
Sure.
And so I'm up there, probably like swinging it in my hand, laid it down in a box, whatever, you know. And it's totally my fault. And we're halfway through a really long scene, with all the principal players in the scene. And halfway through, obviously the script supervisor said, Mike, he doesn't have his tie on. And I hear someone, the AD, he goes, you don't have your tie on. And Mike, just somewhere back in the darkness by the monitor, he goes, oh, come on.
That was it. That's it. You feel horrible.
Horrible.
Yes.
Horrible.
You have let him down.
Oh, if he'd screamed at me and kicked me off the set, it would have been better. But
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah.
It's just so
Couldn't
demeaning.
you at least be that professional
Right.
to remember your fucking
Yeah.
wardrobe?
That was bad.
Well, I honestly and truly can't thank you enough for taking some time on your Sunday. We've been at it now a couple hours, believe it or not.
Really. Can't edit it either, can you?
Nope. Nor would I want to. Nor would I want to. I'll
People at home are saying, "Oh yeah, guys, come on, seriously."
No, I
That
trust.
was interesting for 25 minutes.
I trust
but-
you. That is not the case.
You know?
No, it's only been an hour and a half. We'll leave on one quote, apropos of absolutely nothing. In your discussion, your many discussions on a loathing of reality TV and how everything is a competition, you said, quote, why do there have to be cupcake wars? Can't you just bake and feed people?
Yeah.
I just had to repeat that. I just fucking love that more than anything I can remember.
Well, I figure everything's a competition now.
Oh God, it's unbelievable.
Everything.
Why do there have to be cupcake wars? Why can't you just bake and feed people?
You know, that lady got mad at me too. She said something all over the internet about, you know, how serious they take their cupcakes, and I felt bad, but you know.
That wasn't your point?
No, it was just like, does it have to be a war?
Yeah, why does that have to be the show?
Can't you just bake a good cupcake and someone else also
yeah.
bakes a good cupcake?
And let someone eat it on camera and
I know,
go,
right?
damn, this is good.
Yeah.
Show me that.
Julia Child just
enjoy.
made soup.
Right.
She didn't have to compete with someone
No.
else's soup.
No.
Tea surfing, aptly named by your daughter
Yeah.
and others. Go and check them out. There must be a link where people can check out the tour dates.
Oh yeah, probably. I think it's www.theboxmasters.com. Is
Sure,
that right? Yeah.
that sounds about right. Thank you for reminding me about the 3 W's, because a lot of times I don't remember that.
Yeah, I didn't. That's because I hear the other guys say it.
Thank you, man. We're going to come see you at the one quiet show here in Los Angeles before you slip out into the world, and I wish you tremendous success with that and everything else.
Always good to see you.
Pleased and thank you.
Your audience must be fantastic because you're one of the guys that we all talk about.
Oh, man.
I mean that. I mean, I was talking with Rick Overton about you last night.
Thank you, brother.
And I still can't leave without you doing a little bit of Columbo.
Well, it's funny you should ask, Bill, because I remember there was a time when I myself went on tour. I was doing Glengarry Glen Ross. Jesus, I can't be. The play would open, I'd close that cocksucker. And certain nights, the audience didn't respond well to the swearing.
I did the one eye on the Tonight Show once for Carson because he loved Peter, and I tell the story. My favorite part was being accosted at Ralph's in the produce section by Peter 3 months later. How do you do that with your eye?
Now,
Yeah.
is there a hard out here? Or can I tell you one more thing?
Please.
Okay. I got to tell you this because it's about him.
Oh,
And
well.
It's him, and you mentioned Jack Lemmon earlier. The first really famous guy I saw in LA was Jack Lemmon. I'd seen Buddy Ebsen, and I saw the red-haired guy on Happy Days.
Ralph Mouth?
Yeah.
Or was it?
Yeah, him.
Yeah.
Ralph Mouth, yeah. I saw him.
Donnie
Donnie
Most.
Donnie
Donnie Most.
I saw Donnie Most, and I saw Buddy Ebsen, but from a distance. I was in Beverly Hills, had no business there. Had like a $125 car that people would stay way away from because he don't have insurance, you know. And I was like delivering something, you know, worked for various creepy little places, you know. I had the occasion to be in Beverly Hills, dropping something off or whatever. I see Jack Lemmon. It was a long time ago. when I
In a
first got
car
here.
on the sidewalk?
On the sidewalk, walking. And I wasn't going to bother him, and then I go, I got to bother him. That's Jack Lemmon, because I loved Jack Lemmon. And I walked up to him and said, Mr. Lemmon, listen, I just got to tell you, and I'm sure, I looked like shit, I'm sure, you know, already, and probably wearing some old beat up Levi shirt and everything, and I hadn't cut my hair yet. And, And anyways, I started kind of shakily, you know, like the people that want you to sign something that are shaky and sweaty. I was like that. And so he just looked at me like with a shocked look on his face, because I think I must have really invaded us. I think I got probably too close right away.
And you look like hell.
And I looked like hell. And he didn't say anything to me. And I said, well, I just want to tell you that I just love you. I think you're like one of the greatest actors. I started trying to speed up my speech. And you know when those races where they're not running, they're walking, but they do that weird thing? He started doing kind of like that. and
Speed walking.
Speed walking. And he got really far away from me, and I chased him. And then he went faster.
No.
So I made Jack Lemmon trot to get away from me. So anyway, and that was my first experience. I was like, wow, I got to leave these people alone. And so,
Wow.
but then, years and years later, I'm sitting in a Chinese restaurant in Beverly Hills, and
Mr. Chow's.
Mr. Chow's, and you know how the tables are pretty close, so whoever's sitting right behind you, their chair is right against your chair.
And sometimes it's
Yeah.
annoying.
It's yeah. And so I'm sitting there, and I have my jacket thrown over the back of the chair, and I'm talking in there with my girlfriend and her mother and some people, and somebody keeps click clack, you know, against my chair, and I'm like, gosh damn it. And then he or whoever hit me right kind of hard, because I guess he was getting up, about to get up, and it just bang. So I went bang like that and turned around and said, listen, man. And Peter Falk is like that, right in my face. How you doing? You know, he goes,
I am so sorry.
yeah, right? And so he says to me how much, he's called me kid, I love your work, you know, that movie, that one of yours or whatever. And I'm like, wow. And I'm like this close to him, and he smelled like cigarettes, you know, and I'm like, wow. And he was wearing a fucking trench coat. And I'm like, this is the greatest thing that ever happened to me. And so he goes, you smoke? I said, absolutely. He goes, let's go for a smoke.
Oh.
We walk out, and it was, you know, sometimes around here when it gets misty at night, and in Beverly Hills it's kind of cold and misty, and the mist was in the street lights, and I'm standing on the sidewalk with him in a trench coat, bent over, smoking, talking to me like, because he didn't have the ability to not be Columbo at that point. I mean, he just was.
That's right.
He's bent over, smoking, asking me stuff about my movies and stuff, like, you know, the one you did with the, you know, whatever. And it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then we went back in to sit down, and, you know, there was never any mention of the clacking chairs or anything, but it was just, it was incredible.
Yeah. There's another one of those exceptional world-class character actors who becomes so many different things along the way. And there was that stretch of time when it was just Columbo. This guy's Oscar nominated for Murder Incorporated as one of the most terrifying dramatic actors around.
Yeah.
And then the Cassavetes years, just extraordinary.
Yeah.
Arc. And Jack Lemmon, also a hero of mine for being a character actor who became this leading man, but was always doing character actor work.
Yeah.
And so thank you for being one of those as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Don't you just love it?
He's the best.
It's the best.
Yeah.
It's really the best.
And even we mentioned Clooney, when he fucks off and does a weird ass character, way more interesting to me than just being the next,
Yeah,
Cary Grant.
absolutely. It's terrific.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
There you have it, folks. Let's thank Samantha Ward on makeup, evil Dr. Kenny Chen here on the floor. Luke Allen, everyone's new favorite intern, doing way too much for this show now, quite frankly. Mike Dooman and J-Mac up in the crow's nest, Sammy and Jamie. Next week, Stephen Root will drop, who's also grading where our brother were out there. We talked about that. We pre-recorded that. Take the Sunday off for Sammy's birthday.
Well,
I can't believe you're going to be 40. It's so weird to me.
I know.
Wow.
You and me both.
Is it 35?
35.
That's so
We're
ridiculous.
the same age. We're like 7 weeks apart in age or something.
Kids, children,
Wow.
bless them. Enjoy the tour. Can't wait to hear
man.
more about it.
Cool, buddy.
And thank you again.
Good to see
And
you.
Corey Levin on post. All right, that's it. Until next time, man. Yeah, check out everything else. I like to be.